Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here for the Circle Season 2 or Season 3 recap, week number 2, and we got the band back together for another weekly recap. Episodes 5, 6, 7, 8. Full spoilers of episodes 5, 6, 7, 8, but maybe not next week's preview because we are going to be talking about it all with our great panel here today of the Circle experts. Let's bring them in. First, back with us once again. Quick break from the BB feeds. It's Taran Armstrong. Taran, how are you?
Doing great, Rob. I thought this was a good batch of episodes here. I feel like this season has been pretty entertaining. Yeah. I'm sure we're all big band fans, and we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, especially I thought to speak to your point, I thought the first episode was a little bit snoozy this week, but I thought that things really picked up towards the end of the week. But very excited to have here with us, back to grace us with maybe another rap battle. Here is Jenny Autumn. Jenny, how are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna take on Lil Yachty because I might fire some shots at Lil Yachty with his delivery of rap. So no, it was a fun batch of episodes. I wasn't feeling the first few. The Circle is a little bit of like a partial hate watch for me sometimes. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. But these 4 episodes were fun, and of course we had to start it with a rap battle. So speaking to my heart, of course,
because you famously opened the one of the Thursday recaps this season after Brittany was on the block. You opened with an original rap.
Iconic, right? Yeah, definitely. Again, what we need is more white women rapping. Yes. Everyone wants that.
Okay. All right, Jenny, good to have you here with us. Also, very excited to have with us Geneva Guadalupe. Geneva, how are you?
I am great, Rob. Great. I did some karaoke today with some friends, so that was a super fun time. Looking forward to talking about the Circle. We noticed that there's a lot more intensity, a lot more strategy going on. We see 2 clear sides forming. So that was definitely interesting to watch. I think there are some people I love more than others, depending on just what they focus on in the Circle. And I'm sure we'll get definitely into that.
Did anybody perform any Lil Yachty at karaoke?
No Little Yachty. Definitely not. That was not to be seen at all.
Shocking.
Yeah. All right. And then also excited to have back with us. We talked to her on Thursday night for the recap. Hopefully, maybe we have some more fun tonight. Kirsten MacInnis is here. Kirsten, how are you?
Hi, I hope we have fun. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I love watching the Circle. It's always such a hot mess. My only regret is that I didn't get to talk about episode 2 of this season because an entire production crew cyberbullying a 52-year-old woman is my favorite thing that's ever happened on reality TV.
Wow.
I really think that episode 2 is my favorite episode of any show ever, possibly. So that's my only sadness, but still glad to be here.
Okay. Did you feel like that there was bullying from the crew or from the cast?
Well, first of all, the twist is innately like a little bit cyberbully-y. And then just Michelle is just such a soft target that, and how defensive she was, and why is this happening to me? She was a victim, and I loved to see it. So,
okay, sad. We did get to see a quick cameo for Michelle here in the first episode of the week. I got a programming note. Sam Moore wants me to mention to the chat that I said we will not be talking about the preview and that the chat needs to knock it off talking about spoilers for next week. Okay?
Yeah, how dare you,
don't
chat?
Make me come down there, chat.
Listen,
I'll turn the podcast right around. We'll go home.
I'm famous for being on the podcast and muting people in the chat, and I will do so with extreme prejudice, okay?
She will block you.
I will block you.
She's the chat influencer.
Yeah. Okay. And then if you get blocked, don't come back with like some sort of burner account like Vince. Because that's a popular move also. Don't do that either. All right.
How many Vince accounts are going to show up in the chat right now?
Okay, if ghost hunters are showing up in the chat, you know what? That's a discussion we could have. I think maybe we could hear both sides.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, really, things started to really pick up this week. I felt like that. We sort of had like just sort of like a little bit of a snoozer like first episode, but then things really started to get interesting when we ended up with it was Isabel and it was who was the other influencer that blocked
Ashley.
and Ashley. Yeah, that somehow people, I guess, were sort of like outsmarted themselves, got Isabel and Ashley up in the influencer room, and then blocked Calvin and really like broke the house into two sides. So a lot of the excitement. Geneva, we haven't spoken to you yet about the Circle. How are you feeling at this point in the season?
I am feeling okay. I'm feeling okay. And the reason I say that is because I feel like a lot of these contestants are focusing on the wrong things. I think a lot of them are focusing on dating. I think a lot of them are focusing on the catfish. Ultimately, sure, I guess that's a fun element of the game, but I think you should really be focusing on those relationships, those bonds, making sure that people rate you higher and making sure that you're not getting blocked. And I think we do kind of see that a bit with Ashley kind of at this point, realizing, I have this relationship with Roxanna and with Kai that like, okay, I can't do, I can't block either of them. That's going to cause an issue. But also thinking strategically, like, how do I weaken somebody else? And so then doing that by taking out the closest ally to Kay, like that sort of thing. So I do like that people are thinking in this way and are trying to think about how to manage the game. But I've kind of started to notice that people are harping on certain things. And I think part of that had to do with kind of that bomb that was dropped by Ava and Chanel at the beginning of the episode about, there might be potential catfish. But at this point, I'm like, I don't know if I would believe anything that they say because they clearly deceived a group of people. And usually what people usually say in their like goodbye message isn't necessarily factual. But I feel like that really did cause, a huge challenge for Kay because then now she has to try and prove that she's not a catfish and she's trying to be straightforward and honest. But then people are taking that as, she's being a smooth talker or doing all these sorts of things and they're getting obsessed. And I feel like there's a lot of jealousy here. And that is something I guess that is a little bit bothersome. I understand that people want to take her out potentially because she is a big threat. But I think just seeing how much Isabella is so focused on Kay, I don't know if that's necessarily going to help her game moving forward. But I just think that it's kind of getting a little bit irritating as a viewer to kind of constantly watch this. And at least we do see Nick kind of tries to, with the later twist to kind of use that to his advantage to figure out whether he can trust her.
Well, we end up with this cliffhanger at the end of episode 8 where we're going to see Daniel and Nick each get to block a person. Jenny, do we think that Kay is about to be blocked by Nick?
I mean, that's the big question because, we get a lot of like monologuing from Nick trying to figure out, whether it's worth it to kind of, keep this peace treaty between the two of them for a little bit longer or if he should just take the shot when he has the opportunity. And I think especially because, the format of this blocking is he doesn't even get to talk to Daniel. There's no negotiating like, oh, I'll give you this person if you give me this person because they're both, on opposite ends of the line drawn in the sand. So he might just say like, I will ask for forgiveness instead of permission on this one and just take the shot while I have the ability to and not even have to negotiate it. But I also think that we could see someone, I mean, I don't know. I could see perhaps Nick maybe just weakening Kay by taking out like a Roxanna, perhaps someone that, because he knows he couldn't get away with that if he was having the conversation with Daniel and blocking together. But if he can just like snipe Roxanna, who clearly, got 2 cakes made for her, is close with Daniel, is close with Kay as well, and is like, I'm not sure that I want to, start the war against Kay just yet, but perhaps I weaken her army. So that's possible, but I'm not spoiled. So I don't know what happens next.
Yeah. Taran, let me just ask you, format wise, I was a little bummed out that they decided to go with that Nick and Daniel each get to block somebody on their own, because I was like, oh, you have to block 2 people, and I'm like, I don't know if these 2 are going to be able to compromise about who ultimately goes home. I thought this was going to be maybe a very interesting negotiation.
Yeah, I was feeling the exact same way. This was super exciting to me how this played out, because we haven't really seen something like this happen. There are exactly equal sides of this apartment complex, of this circle, with 4v4, and the rating results were exactly, emblematic of that, right? They back and forth. The band and I don't know, the other one doesn't have a name. But between the 2 sides, it went 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, back and forth until the top 2 were the top, people from both sides. And that's super interesting to then have them both go up there. And now they have to negotiate which side is going to take a hit, because whichever side takes a hit is now going to lose the next battle, for sure. And they're just going to keep taking that hit. And it's kind of like, in Survivor, where it's like, 2 sides going after each other. And, how do they negotiate that? Is Daniel going to back down? Is he not going to be able to stand up for his team? Or is he going to be able to talk, Nick into doing something, against his own interest, because maybe he trusts Kay a little too much? I was super excited to see that, and then they were like, nope, twist, they're just going to both decide separately. And it's then one person from each side is going to leave. I guess the benefit of that is that it will continue to prolongate the 2 sides being equal. But I was excited to see this negotiation.
Kirsten, do you have any sort of a read on what Daniel might do here?
Oh, I mean, who knows what Daniel's gonna do? The only things that I can think of Daniel doing is being like, well, I've never been kissed. Isn't that interesting? Let me bring that up again.
He cowers under covers and hides in cabinets and under laundry baskets.
I just okay, so I can't fully decide what I want from this, because we have the 2 semicircles of each alliance back to back, Do I want them to stay even and it continues like this? Or do I just want it to be one side? But I feel like the one side that seems likely to win is the side I don't want to win. So it's a tough go out here. It's hard in these streets.
The band stinks because it's
They're horrible.
We're all catfishes plus Nick. We're all boring catfishes, and and Nick is gullible enough to think that we're really his friends.
Nick is also catfishing as likable to the other people.
He's also catfishing as Vince also.
Yeah. And it's the real and genuine people versus the catfishes plus Nick, who's also partially catfish. But I think it's just interesting because they are really invested and threatened by the people who are real. But I think in this case, it's very interesting to think about, because it's a lot of them had, kind of insecurities and worries about going in as themselves. And they're seeing people who are playing themselves and are threatened by that.
When I don't even know if it's so much that as when you go in as a catfish, you are inherently disadvantaging yourself because you can't be 100% authentic. And so it's harder to make the connections, right? And so when you go in as the catfish, you will have trouble building the bonds that the other people are making more easily because they don't have to keep track of their lies. I don't even think it's that they're insecure so much as that they're just worried about saying too much, and then it makes all of the relationships feel more shallow. So then when you get a group of all of the catfishes together, they're all kind of giving even levels of information, and so it can seem more oh, this is a genuine thing, because they're all just lying and can't actually be honest.
Yeah, I think the catfishes tend to be more strategic in their relationship building, and I think that's what we've seen here with the band, is that they are a little more strategy focused, and the one person that's not is Nick, who's maybe I can trust Kay. He's the one person that actually cares whether or not Kay is a catfish, actually cares whether or not he can trust Kay, because the others are just nah, she's a threat, she needs to go, because they're thinking a little more strategically. And you really get that in that influencer chat between Isabella and Ashley, where the way they're talking about the other players, Daniel, we can sort of he can be grateful that we didn't get rid of him. Like, these people are valuable to us. We can do this here. They are looking at the game like it's a social strategy game, whereas the people that come in to be themselves they tend to look at the game a little bit more, focused on building actual relationships and sort of like displaying who they are, and coming at it from a less strategic standpoint, which it's interesting to see that clash here, so evident in how these two alliances have formed.
Yeah, I'd love to go back to the blocking of Calvin, because I feel like that was like maybe the most like impactful blocking that we've had in 3 seasons of the U.S. Circle. Because Jenny, I feel like that we don't really see too many times where like one of like the OGs from the beginning, like somebody from the main cast ultimately goes out like this, where Calvin just seemed like that he was somebody who was going to be in this thing until the end, and then just got sniped without warning.
It's weird because I sort of felt it coming. Like, I don't know. It felt like we were possibly being set up for a K blocking, but I just started to get a feeling that I wasn't getting as much character development on Calvin, besides the fact that he, there's this narrative that like he dominates conversations and he's super loyal to Kay and he's Nick's guy. Again, this is part of my issue with the show in general, is that like I'm very frustrated that we don't get enough of the character building in terms of like people's relationships. I don't need to see a segment of people flipping pancakes. I want to see a little bit more of like the one-on-one conversations for like, the inner workings of the alliances. And I just don't feel like we really were getting a lot of Calvin. But, I think that's a very like, that's a power move. It's like, they literally said it themselves, which I don't think this is how chess works, but it's like you take out the king before the queen.
I mean,
which is not
if
how
you want to win the game,
works.
you do take out the king before you take out the
right,
the
but
queen.
the queen is protecting the king, so it's
Typically.
like, if I guess,
Yeah.
like, is it?
I mean, once you take out the king, the game's done.
game
Yeah,
ends.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah, check. Yeah,
so I
checkmate.
guess in a way that like they won.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird. One thing also that I noticed that was really bizarre about Calvin, it was especially in the conversation that he had with Jackson when they were both in the like workout rooms. And every message he sent, he'd go, circle message, Jackson, comma, and then whatever he wanted to say. And he did that more than one message in a row, which is such a weird way to talk to people. Like, that's like if I was like, Rob, how are you today? Rob, what did you do earlier? Rob, what do you think of this? Like, if I'm saying that that's weird. That's not how you talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rob, though. I was kind of, by the time the Calvin blocking came around, I figured it would be him over Kay, but that's only because of the conversation that happened in that influencer chat, because he really did feel like an end game character to me. And it felt like Kay felt more like somebody that was very prominent in the beginning, maybe somebody more like Savannah or Terralisha in the previous season, where it was like, okay, well, this person who's very prominent in the beginning is probably going to get cut, and then somebody like Calvin, it might maybe move in. But it didn't turn out that way, and it seems like Kay might be here to stay. And that was a little surprising. I feel like usually it doesn't play out in that way. Usually it's a little bit more predictable, at least from my point of view. And it did make it feel like, oof, like we're not playing around here, which I do appreciate.
Yeah.
It was it hurt to lose Calvin. I did like, and right before the cake challenge too, he would have killed it.
You would have killed it.
Amazing.
Geneva, do you think that was the right move to make, to take out Calvin over Kay for Ashley and Isabel?
Well, I think for Isabella, I do think that it was a good move in a sense, because it allows, it definitely allows Nick to become closer to her, because, they were bros. That was a huge thing. So I think in a sense that really does help. And I think honestly, Ashley's, relationship with Roxanna and Kay kind of really was kind of a driving factor of why Kay stayed over Calvin. But it was smart for them to realize, okay, if we get someone out who would rate Kay super high, then this is also going to help us in the game. So I think from a strategy point of view, it does make sense. I think it was a bit surprising because I knew Isabella was just kind of like KKK, but I think realistically it was kind of a smart move, but unfortunately it was a little weird because of course Nick was like, well, why did they take out Calvin? Like, what's that about? But for I guess fortunately for them, like he didn't, like he seemed a little upset about it, but he kind of got over it pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Calvin was just so vocal about that. He clocked Jackson so hard of like, okay, Jackson definitely a catfish, and I think that then you had both Ashley and Isabel, who both did happen to be catfish. Isabel, who came into the house at the same time with Jackson, so there was like that bond between the two of them. Jenny, it was just that the problem was for Calvin that he was just like too correct.
Yeah, and the other thing is, and this is why I think that there's a pretty good chance we come back to episode 9 and don't see, or we see Jackson get blocked, is that like everyone kind of, in the wake of Calvin being gone, everyone's like, yeah, Jackson is definitely a catfish. Like that, the whole alliance and James, who kind of slid into Calvin's position as well, are just kind of like, yeah, Jackson's definitely a catfish. So, I mean, at least they can get their revenge, I guess. My issue with the band is that, like, I either like the person playing the character, or I like the character and not the person, or you know what I mean? Like, I actually really like Sophia. I'm not loving Isabella. Like, Jackson does nothing for me. But I think that Rachel is her name. Like, maybe if she was herself could have been be more interesting if she was actually giving some personality, because Jackson is nothing burger.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And don't get me started on Nick. But and again, like I don't feel like we get a lot of personality from Matt, like in the apartment. I don't feel like it pops as Ashley at all. I don't know. Maybe I'm on my own on this one. But I just feel like the band itself is just very blah to me. But like kind of like what you're saying is because they're all kind of like catfishing. So it's like it's just a collection of people all being fake together.
And then they also kind of really formed off of a suspicion that, Kay could be a catfish based off of what, Ava, dropped when they had all, they had left the circle and left the video. So it's kind of a weird group to begin with. And it was really only formed because, Nick really wanted to get the new people in and kind of get a sense from them what they think and also get them to his side. So it really is just a weird group in general, but it is strange and funny how it's like Nick and then all the catfish.
Yeah, Nick was like, wow, the people I've been talking to aren't running with this Kay as a catfish theory. Let me assemble the island of misfit toys and maybe they'll believe me and we could create an alliance so unlikable.
Well, it definitely also felt like it was like a collection of like, we're like the young, cool, hot people. Obviously, we're the band. Like, I don't know. I just felt like that was like kind of, because otherwise it was like, why these 4 people? Like,
I get such gross vibes from them. Like, anytime they're all talking, it's just weird. And then, like, when Sophia came in as Isabella, it seemed at first like she was gonna be a really cool, likable person. But now the way she reacts to everything, I'm like, ugh, get off my TV screen. Like, ugh.
But I would love Sophia as Sophia is the
I don't
thing.
think I would. I think I thought I would, but as we're getting to see more of her, I'm like, goodbye.
But I do really wonder what she would have been like if she was herself, because I think in the very beginning I did like her, but I just think that she really has focused so much on Kay that it's just become a bit irritating to watch. And she was really irritated that people were like calling her a queen and that sort of thing. And that's where I kind of brought in that whole, threatened, talking about how like, oh, she's a smooth talker, this sort of stuff. It's just kind of very unsettling to me. And then just that entire group has just kind of become a bit uncomfortable, especially because they're like, oh, she's a catfish, but y'all are the catfish. And I know in a sense for them, it's easy to put the target on somebody else because, you don't want to be assumed as a catfish. But, as a viewer, I think that's kind of like, let's focus on some other things. Sure, I think an objective strategically, you see that Kay is a strong player, but why don't you work with Kay? Like maybe you could use that to your advantage, form a relationship with her, and then cut her or something like that. But it doesn't even really seem like she wants to even put that sort of effort. And I like, even though Nick was kind of annoying about it a bit, I think over time he at least, with that, of course, that advantage he does get later, he kind of uses it to really think about really what's best for his game. And we'll see what he ends up doing in the next set of episodes. Is he going to go with, what Isabella wants to do and what the band wants to do, or is he going to do what's best for his game?
Yeah, I'd like to bring in what Nick is going to do, because we see that Calvin, when he gets to leave, there's a twist. He gets to assign a power to one person. Taran, I really was scratching my head of why did Calvin assign the power to Nick? Was he afraid that it was going to give Kay a power that was going to put a bigger target on her back?
Yeah, it was pretty strange. Now, the experience that I've had with this show is that occasionally the producers of the show can have a large amount of influence over decisions like this.
The ultimate
including
influencers.
I mean, also not to mention the fact that they fully control who is allowed to talk to who. So it may not be a matter of not putting in effort. It may be a matter of, well, never got a chance to talk to somebody because this was encouraged. But it was very surprising to me that that he would go to CK, talk about how he wanted her to win. Now, he did tell her that she could trust Nick and that he would look out for her. I think that is probably his intention, that he thinks that with this power, Nick can maybe look out for Kay, but he didn't really know what the power was, I would imagine. And I don't know why he would think that Nick would look out for Kay, considering the RHAP battle that happened like literally the night before, where and as far as we saw, we didn't see any conversation between the two of them about it. So it's definitely something I'd be curious to hear from Calvin, because I don't think there is a proper explanation on the show. And I think that's a failing of the show that they didn't explain it. Yeah,
maybe the meetup didn't go the way that Calvin thought. Maybe that he thought when he was going to go to Kay's room that it was going to be like Joey and Miranda.
Something like that. It was very awkward. I'm not gonna lie. Like at one point toward the end, Kay is just like, "Yep."
Yeah, there was weird lingering. I was like, it made me very uncomfortable, because I'm like, I feel like meeting anyone under these circumstances is weird while you've been talking to them and like haven't met them in person. But like at the end of that first episode in this batch, like that was like PG rated sexting going on. Like they were sending like thirst traps to each other and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to bed thinking about you," and then they meet in person, and it's just like they're also being filmed. I feel like the whole thing is very uncomfortable, but I definitely got the vibe that he was thinking like, well, you're going to be here for a while and I'm leaving. So should we seal it with a kiss? And she's like, all right, see, I'll hit you up when we're done.
See, this is the problem with online dating. You can think someone is attractive when you're flipping through the catalog, but then when you meet them in person, there just might not be chemistry.
Also, it just might be awkward in general to kind of decide what to do in that point in time. I mean, they weren't really there kind of in the circle that long. So I think that is something realistically where if I were in that situation, I probably would have been like, yeah, let's wait till after the show. We can figure that out if there is something there. But I also did think it was just weird in general, because Calvin was like, yeah, like we're perceived as like the two biggest threats. And then he's like, okay, here you go, Nick. And so that's why I also thought was strange. But that's where I do wonder, kind of like Taran said, was this a producer thing?
It may have been as simple as just like he went to go see Kay and was like, oh, I feel bad that I didn't go to see Nick. I'll give Nick the thing because I already saw Kay, just because they were the two people he was closest to. So could have been as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it was kind of Nick's fault, right? That Nick brought Jackson into the wolf pack, right? That was his idea. He didn't want to do it. And then ultimately, like that sort of like got Calvin talking about Jackson. And then
we didn't need to talk about Jackson. He could have just been like, like everybody else and been like, I don't care if he's a catfish. If he's another number in the wolf pack, that's great for me. But instead, he decided to make an issue of it, which I thought was kind of a mistake.
I also
They're
take great issue with the way that these people bring people into like alliance chats that already exist. Like what are you doing? Like, it's so obvious when they bring someone in, they're like, hey, we've all already been talking and have a closer relationship with each other. We're deciding to bring you in. It's like, make it look like its own thing where it's like you guys were talking amongst yourselves and decided like, hey, I think I feel pretty good about this person. We should get us all in a chat together. Like,
this is a brand new group text.
Yeah, like I feel like I would feel crappy if I got pulled into a chat that was already named and I'm like the last person there. It's like James bringing in everyone one by one into this big chat, which again, that was so bizarre as well. But it's just like, call it something else. It's a new alliance. Like, don't make this person already feel like they're the bottom of the barrel of this alliance. Like, why do people always do this on this show? It drives me insane.
Well, I think doesn't part of it play into like they have a very limited number of chats they're allowed to have per day. So I feel like that they could be like, oh, it would be great to start a new chat with all of us plus one more person. But if we asked to do that, production might say no. So maybe we should just add them right now while we're talking so we can have the conversation as soon as possible.
Can't they close the chat, open a new one, and make it sound like they just created that chat at once? Like, I don't know how it looks to the person, but it's like how they show it to us. It's like Jackson has been added to the chat and like they can see that the other people were already there. Like, as opposed to it looking like a fresh chat. Like, that part of the the logistics of it is not clear to me, but I feel like I would feel some type of way if I was brought into a chat that already existed.
I'm pretty sure what we see is not what they see in terms of the chat. In fact, I'm very sure.
Yeah, isn't it just like a PowerPoint that they look at and it's like very different?
It is very different.
They're texting on a PowerPoint like Nelly and Kelly Rowland in Dilemma.
which is also how they like cut down the conversation. Like, they'll show us, what we just saw, but in reality, it's like 20 minutes later that they're, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, whatever text we see on the screen is not necessarily what is being represented to them.
Okay. One of the other things that I felt like that really helped week 2 was the addition of James. I thought that he, the new people that come in don't always hit. But I felt like that James was really a great addition to the Circle 2 cast, because I felt like that we didn't really have a ton of people who were that funny in this cast. And James comes in with a ton of personality. Kirsten, were you feeling James when he showed up?
Yeah, the only thing I want is I wish he'd been there from the start because he's so electric. Everything he says is funny, and it's obvious he's not even necessarily trying to be funny all of the time. Like, sometimes, sure, and when he tries, he is funny, but also it just seems like he is effortlessly funny all of the time. And do I hate him for that? Yes, but I like to laugh, so it's okay.
Yeah. It's like how did he not make the main cast?
Just put him in. Like, what? You think?
I don't know. Maybe they were just thinking like, coming a lot of the times coming in late, like you got to make up a lot of ground. This guy is so electric and has such a great personality and is so naturally funny that he's going to he's going to do well wherever we put him. So maybe we save him. Like, he's not going to be that disadvantaged if he comes in the second group of episodes. I don't know, but he's great. And like, at first I was a little worried because his job is a comedian. And I was just like, I'm worried that like, this is just going to be too much just trying to like get jokes out. But like, I feel like his little quips feel really natural. I don't know. Whereas like, people saying like, oh, Nick's one of the funniest guys in the circle. Like, do you know?
No.
What is your sense of humor?
They've just been locked away from the outside world for too long. They don't know what's going on. Nick is not funny. And the number of times they're like, oh, ha ha ha, big Nick energy. It's so clever. Stop it. We've all got big Nick fatigue. Get out of here. I'm so sick of his stupid face.
His laugh is also frightening. Like, I guess he's trying to, I don't know if he's trying to be like a villain or like what he's trying to do, but he always has this like weird chuckle. It's just like, I don't know what
awkward.
it is. Yeah, it's very strange. Actually, as we're talking about Nick, I wanted to bring up something. So as you know, I've expressed my annoyance with the band and how they have kind of been, obsessed with, Kay and Calvin and some other people. And it's very interesting because I decided to tweet, my feelings on this issue. And so I basically said like how I was essentially annoyed with it. And I think Nick is literally on Twitter searching his name, Nick, and looking for tweets to respond to. Because I was literally like, what does Nick have against Kay? Like, this is getting annoying.
Like all the Nicks?
Yeah.
All Nick mentions on all of Twitter?
I think so.
That's the big Nick energy.
And
this is classic Nick behavior on social media. And it's not just this Nick. I think it's all Nicks.
That's the big Nick energy.
No.
And hashtag not all Nicks, Kirsten.
No, I will put my foot down. All Nicks are doing this.
Yeah. That's what a Nick does. That's why it's big Nick energy.
And I didn't even at him or like mention him that way. Like, I just typed in Nick and he found it. And so like he said the back-to-back influencer had me shaking in my boots. So that was his response. So that was
there a hashtag or a cheeky emoji?
No, none of that. Just that response. Then, no period to end the sentence.
Was there another tweet that came in from another account named Vince that was like, "Hey, I think Nick is pretty cool on the show."
Not quite.
Not one person has said that. No, nobody has that opinion.
There's no burner account.
Maybe if I tweeted about Vince, but I did not tweet about him, so maybe that's why nothing came up.
Nick's tweets, I'm scrolling through right now, and they are not good.
Yeah.
I've been informed James is in the chat. James from the show is here. Hi, James. We love you.
We love you, James. You're wonderful. Shout out to you.
James. But now it just sounds like we were saying nice things because
we already were before we knew. That's the dream.
We knew he was in the chat.
Don't worry. If Nick shows up, I won't acknowledge him. It's fine.
My favorite thing that James said is that girls with nose rings are freaky. What's up, James?
I am actually James's burner account, and I don't actually exist.
Yeah,
I'm literally. He inserted me onto this podcast 7 years ago so that I could say nice things about him on the podcast.
Wow, that is big brain.
Wow, Taran, take off the mask. Who's the real you?
Yeah. So we touched on the Calvin's popularity power that he bestowed on Nick. He got to have Vince, the ghost hunter, come in. Taran, is this another thing that the UK Circle has already done?
They have not done this. The closest they've come to doing this was last season of the US with the Joker. And I love this twist. This is a fantastic twist.
This is the Joey Rodriguez twist.
Exactly. I love this idea, especially because it is a person who is being himself. To then now we get to see Nick being a catfish. I love the implementation of it, of literally a person now speaking to themselves. I can't believe it's one of those things. Like, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Like, it's such a clever idea. It's something that happens as we've discovered on the internet all the time. And it's such a clever introduction thing to introduce to the game. And I liked the way that Nick was using it for the most part. I feel like this could have been used to more effect. I don't know how much longer it's going to last. But I hope that they do this somewhat regularly. So now people will have to wonder, is this person even a separate person, or is this now a burner person? I think this is great.
I do think that the one thing that kind of neuters the twist a little bit in a good way is that he's given such an it's very obvious that this is a catfish. Like, this is not this doesn't feel like a real person at all. So like it kind of counters him having the possibility to like talk to others about himself.
Yeah.
Because people will still be like, oh, I don't fully trust this profile. They might not think, oh, it's definitely Nick, but it at least puts a layer of pause to what other people will say, which I think takes it down, because I think it would be really overpowered if it was like a super believable profile.
And Jenny, last season we had the John the psychic. Now we have Vince the ghost hunter. Why is production like trying so hard like to make something like from the occult happen on the Circle?
Well, the thing is like they must be having issues finding like kooky characters to just straight up cast on the show. So they're just like making these fake like catfish accounts that they're forcing people to use. They're like, we were really looking for someone like Vince, and unfortunately it just didn't work out. So we just found this person on Google Images and created this concept. But it's exactly what Kirsten is saying, is like you're looking at the rest of the cast that is all like, like young influencer type people, like about who you would expect to be on reality television in 2021, and then you throw in Vince. It's like it's just so obvious. And the other thing that drove me crazy about this is that like Nick catches himself like, and it starts to change how he's talking as Vince, being like, oh, I gotta lay off the emojis and the hashtags when he already put them in his bio. It's like you've already done that. So like all he's doing is talking as Nick and replacing the word dog with ghost. Like it's the same thing.
It's so funny.
He's like in a cornfield holding a ghost. It's exact same setup.
I think that he fell into the trap of like trying to make his bio like super detailed. And then not being willing to discuss it. Like he was like, oh, I saw my first ghost at 16. And everyone's like, oh, tell us about ghosts. And he's like, well, I'll never talk about my first ghost. But let's talk about other ghosts.
Was it James that said that? Well, why did you bring it up then?
Yeah, I love that from James. I loved though, like that. I love that he kept it in separate rooms. And that he's throwing the cape on every time.
The execution was very fun on this.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out really well. I'm really excited about the possibility of them adding this twist in the future, because I feel like there are just so many different possibilities here.
Geneva, let me ask you, how do you think this ends? Because I don't think that we're going to have a Vince blocking. You think we'll have like that? Oh, there was a medical emergency. Vince had to leave.
So I think they might actually say like there was some sort of twist in the Circle, and they might say like there is a twist, but no one knows who this is, and I guess people will start to speculate who this is. But I think like I think this is one thing that I really enjoyed from Nick. It was kind of funny to see him put on the cape every time, to kind of embody the role.
Why the cape though?
I don't know, but
they gave him the Circle though. Like why?
No, this is the thing. They gave him the cape, and then they made fun of him for having a cape.
I know.
They were like, why are you wearing a cape, bro? Like, you gave it to him as part of the Vince stuff.
It doesn't make sense. They were like, we gotta make fun of this guy, give him a cape, and then we'll make fun of how stupid the cape is.
I mean, it's not like there's a shortage of things to make fun of him for. They didn't need it. But I think it's the thing of like, okay, well, we're gonna give you this box of stuff, and it's up to you to exercise your judgment and decide which props you want to use. And he exercised poor judgment in using the cape.
Like, and he exercises ghosts.
Now he'll get red for it.
Yeah.
I do want to say, if they wanted a ghost hunter, like Raven Walton is right there.
So true.
Like
what I would pay for that. Right? Oh my goodness.
Guys, that wouldn't be fair. She would puppet master the whole thing. It would be such a boring season.
But the thing with the Circle is, maybe she would. Like, you don't even know in the Circle.
I can see a world where Raven Walton wins the Circle.
Yeah,
I would like to see it.
In regards to the twist, the Circle has not been kind to people that have had twists in the past. I fully expect that at some point they're going to say, gotcha, Vince wasn't real. He was one of your fellow Circle members secretly, which is why if I were Nick in this spot, I would do very little with Vince, because I don't think that he knows that like anything could be, because you'd think like, who, I don't need to try that hard to convince people that I'm not Vince, because who would suspect that? But after the fact that he made Nick a cake, the fact that he seemed cool with Nick all the time, like anything like that, asking questions about Nick, like all of those things are going to start to ring a bell, and he could easily get caught. So you have to anticipate that production is going to rat you out here in the circle.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Does anybody remember how did they reveal the Joker twist? And because I do remember that like Courtney got hosed on the whole Joker thing from last season, but I don't remember exactly how it happened. And I know time is a flat circle.
It's at some point they said that there was a Joker. Like it wasn't just that like Courtney had his Joker thing and only they knew. At some point they came out and said there was a Joker, and they said this, I think, or not that they said this, but like there was a Joker, and one of you went there. And it was revealed at some point, but I don't remember the details there.
Yeah, I just assumed it was in the finale that it was like revealed after everyone was revealed. But again,
he wasn't exposed as the Joker, but I believe they were all told that a Joker.
It was one of them.
Yeah. Because they like, the circle likes doing anything that's going to get all of the other contestants like speculating about who it could be, because those are the chats that can be really fun when they're not going to be showing us so many like character moments.
So an example here is that spoilers for the most recent UK season, but in that season they had a twist. I think they called it the Secret Assassin twist, where they made it a requirement for one player to have to get a specific player blocked. Rather than cloning somebody, they had to get somebody blocked. And if they didn't get that person blocked, they themselves would be blocked. And so this person manages to accomplish the goal of getting a specific person blocked. And then the circle went, so this person had a goal of getting this person blocked, and then didn't say that they would be blocked if they didn't succeed. Like, just fully thrown under the bus in no uncertain terms. Like they will screw you over bad if you're not careful. I mean, even if you are careful, what can you do?
Well, and that's why I think Nick really should have made the second cake for Kay, because then it makes Kay look like she has more best friends, makes it look more like maybe she had the twist in the end, especially since her cake ended up looking like a bit of a mess. It could have been a little bit more strategic there, but Nick has an ego, and he needed it to seem that he had the most friends.
If you're Nick, your best thing is to continue to keep the heat on Kay, and especially after Calvin is gone, and you could think like, oh, like possibly Kay starts like, riding into this like underdog position here. Like, I need to keep the pressure on her because I don't want to be the most popular person. Make a cake for Kay. Like, make it look like she's still very well positioned. And nope, I want a cake for myself. Okay, dude.
Let's bring in some of the other people from the circle that we haven't talked too much about. Roxanna, I felt like had a weird second week where I felt like that at the end of the first week, it seemed like that she ends up in one of the top two spots. I feel like then she ended up like slipping in the rankings, but I also feel like that she didn't get a lot of airtime in the second week of the show. Where do we think that her story is headed?
Personally, I think it's headed out the door in the next episode. I mean, again, I have not seen the next time on, but it seems I think when it comes to who Nick will block, we're probably looking at either Kay or Roxanna, I would imagine. And in his ratings, he had Roxanna last. He even said, I'm going to put Kay above Roxanna because I at least feel like she has, she's a little bit trusting of me. She did say good things to me about me to Vince. And it makes a lot of sense based on what we've seen. He has no relationship with Roxanna. He has at least a little bit of one with Kay. It's just further weakening Kay to take Roxanna out of the game. It also, weakens Daniel, who's also close to Roxanna. Maybe he's not so close to Kay, which I think is kind of the case. So it's strategically the right move. It seems to be the one that he was already inclined to go for. So I kind of feel like she might be out.
And not to, read too much into the edgic of the circle, but a similar kind of thing happened with Calvin where he was a lot bigger of a character and then kind of faded a little bit in the episodes right before he was blocked. And I think that's worth noting. Like it's a good sign that maybe she'll be walking out the door, which is really disappointing because Roxanna is so entertaining. I feel like she's so sweet. She's funny. She's doing her best. And I would like to see more from her.
She's very good at connecting with people, which I is a big part of the strategy of the show if you're wanting to get ranked well. But I just think that she kind of fell victim to, Calvin goes out and she kind of like slides into, Kay's right hand person position. And if you want to keep Kay around to be like the person that gets taken out ahead of you, then you go for their next person. And with her making with Roxanna making a cake for Kay, I can't believe this is part of strategy because it seems so stupid, but when she makes a cake for Kay over Daniel, who Daniel also makes a cake for Roxanna, like I think that clearly says, okay, like these two are very, very tight. They made cakes for each other. Roxanna is also popular in that Daniel has allegiance to her. So if I want to keep Kay in the mix because that's someone that goes out before me, Roxanna is looking like a pretty juicy target. And Nick has next to no relationship that we've seen with her. So it seems like a no-brainer unless Nick really decides that he doesn't want to wait and he is going to take the shot at Kay. So yeah.
Yeah. And I also think even though like Nick has all these relationships, he is the biggest threat aside from Kay. So also getting rid of Kay, I think that kind of puts him in the spotlight a bit. So I think that's also something that he's probably evaluating, but even more so, he feels a bit more confident, which is with that whole Vince Kay conversation and how Kay said positive things. So that's where I feel like he kind of used it really well because he's like, well, let me see what she has to say. Maybe I'll find out if she's really actually targeting me. But also, I think we noticed that Kay was very I think trying to, not say too much in that conversation because she noticed that they were close for Vince and Nick, but we, why they're close. So if they do get told by the circle, hey, someone was pretending to be Vince, she might start to have that inclination. Oh, it might have been Nick. So that conversation also might have helped her in a way to figure out what was going on. But I do think that, taking out, kind of doing the similar strategy as we saw with, Isabel and Ashley, they just it looks like that might potentially happen over again, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, Nick really needs to brush up on his undercover skills because he's trying to get dirt from the other side about what they really think about Nick. And he goes in, Nick's a great guy, right? Could you imagine like an undercover cop going, talking to criminals, being like, cops are so great, though, don't you think? I mean, I just have a lot of respect for them. What do you think about cops?
What a natural conversation.
Yeah, it feels like it would definitely work. And you know what? I think obviously Nick as Vince is breaking the rules because I think if you're a catfish and someone asks you, I think you have to tell them. So I think they could just start being like, "Are you a catfish?" And they'll have to say
entrapment if they don't say.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Daniel because Taran, I do not have a good read on who Daniel is about to block.
Oh, I think Daniel will block Jackson.
Yeah.
I feel like Jackson seems to be the consensus block here. Jackson also going nowhere in the edit of the show.
Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, I actually like in the spots where she is speaking, which is rare. I actually she seems pretty self-aware. She was like, that was terrible. I'm sitting on the fence way too much. I'm so boring. And I'm like, yes,
then change it.
But yeah, I think this is the end for Jackson. I don't think there's a road here for.
I feel like it's wild because we've got there's the two sides are there. Each side is getting to make a block, and I really think that it would be a lot more respectable to block someone who seems like maybe more of a threat. Like I feel like it would make way more sense to block Isabel because, has been an influencer before, is in more of a power position on that side. I feel like it's such a waste to block Jackson.
I just and what is the woman's name that's playing Jackson?
Rachel.
Rachel?
Yeah,
Rachel.
Jenny said Rachel, and I'm
it's
forced to
Rachel.
believe
Yeah.
her.
Listen,
Yeah.
I have
yeah.
baggage for why I remember all of these people's names.
That's
I had to look up. I had
we
to
can
look up
talk
her
about
name.
it afterwards.
But in
I had to look-
casting, like what did they see? Like I'm sure that Rachel is a lovely person, but she's not like a huge personality. The person she's going to play is not. She's like I'm sure she must have gone over what Jackson is going to be like, and it's like, yeah, Jackson is going to be like the ultimate basic guy who is just going to go in there and sort of like say generic things. Like there was no upside here to any of this. I don't understand how what the vision was.
I think it's an inherent sort of risk in the show that they produce, because I think it happens a lot, especially with Catfish, that you have maybe a vibrant personality, but they go into Catfish and then they tone themselves down in order to catfish. And now all of a sudden you have a dot on your hands. And again, we haven't really seen much from her. Maybe she is a little bit more interesting on her own, but she's not going to be very long lived on the show. So they don't really care to explore it.
How sad is that we're all sitting here like, well, maybe she has a personality, possibly. That's a thing that could happen that we just don't know.
Because
Like,
we give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But here's the thing is like I understood when we got like her intro package explaining why she was choosing to be Jackson, who is apparently her best friend's boyfriend or something like that.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, so it's like someone she
talk about
actually
that.
knows. And so it's like it's a real person that exists. I don't know if his name is actually Jackson. I think
I'm
so.
sure
Could be Mickey.
And
he's probably insulted now after seeing all of this. He's like, this is how I come
you
off.
watered me down. But like she said, like, oh, men are given like have an easier time on social media, and he's like an attractive, like inoffensive white man. Wow, this is so like this will be easy. But the problem
They
is
never
that
get mean tweets.
she gave him zero personality. It's like if you're going to be like a bland, inoffensive white man, throw some spice in there. Like be an actual personality, because as much as Nick grinds my freaking gears, like he's at least being goofy and showing his personality whether you like it or not. He is doing what Jackson is not doing, which is being a little flirty, a little fun, cracking jokes, being annoying at times, but he at least has like some sort of personality that you can point to. He's having some sort of take. Jackson is literally sitting on the fence. It's like there's nothing to work off of here.
I want to know what the conversation was when Rachel approached her best friend and was like, "Hey, I just got cast on this show called
Oh
The
my God,
Circle."
that's so cool, Rachel.
Isn't
I'm so
that cool?
happy for you.
Yeah,
I can't wait to
so-
watch you play
yeah.
on The Circle.
Yeah,
That's
so
going to
the
be
thing-
amazing. I love that show.
Yeah, the thing about this show is that on the show you're allowed to catfish as anybody else. You get to choose to be anybody else in the world that you want to try to be. And so I had an idea.
Oh, I am so flattered. You are going to catfish as me.
Your boyfriend, actually. I would like to be your boyfriend.
I wonder if he's a fan.
Rachel?
I hope he's a fan of The Circle. Otherwise, it's just like super weird. But I also wonder too, though, like if this is kind of also what was so bothersome to Calvin about Jackson is like, and I think we also saw this with, I think like Jack and Emily last season, is like Jackson didn't want to really take a stance on anything and didn't really give off much, didn't want to take any sort of sides. And I know sometimes it can be dangerous to kind of take a clear stance, but I think that's also kind of like Calvin's like, well, in one conversation, it's like, oh, I don't want to give too much because he's not really giving anything. And so I think that's where a lot of people see that hesitancy with Jackson. And even more so, I really only feel like Jackson has allies because he was put in that group chat for the band, because of the skepticism of Kay. And other than that, it's like, I don't really see Jackson forming lots of solid bonds with people. So in a sense, like if the blocking is Jackson, I wouldn't be surprised because he's just not connected with anybody. And I don't feel like we know much about Jackson either, like as a person.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, I feel like you said her name's Rachel. Okay, so Rachel, I think feels that if she injects her personality into the character of Jackson, then it will be obvious that Jackson is a woman. So based out of fear of that, she holds back way too much, and now it just seems like Jackson is not a person at all.
She also dropped the all of my friends are guys in the first and which is a red flag. But like anyway, so I think this is her way of saying like I know how to talk like a guy, but I'm like, okay, well, do you know how to talk like a guy with a personality? Because I'm waiting.
She's like, I'm not like other girls. I know how boys talk because I'm friends with them.
Any other of the people in the circle currently that we want to highlight before we talk about some of the competitions from the week?
I mean, I would like to hear what people think about where James fits into all of this now. He's like the last person in, like I think we're all on the same page that with the way that this is set up with Daniel and Nick both blocking somebody, that each side is going to lose someone. What do we think James's path is here?
I don't know. Like I'm concerned just based on him coming in late.
I think that he can easily. I mean, he came in what, like 2 episodes in to this 4 episode.
He came in episode 6.
Yeah.
And so and I felt like he was pretty prominent throughout. I feel like especially if we are going to lose Roxanna, and who knows how long Kay is for this world at this point. I feel like he is positioned to sort of like survive if that alliance falls. He does have this connection now to Nick a little bit, and I feel like I feel like he has the personality to fit back in. I think he could be in it for the long haul, but I thought the same of Calvin. So
right. Yeah, and like the other thing that I was like trying to understand was the point where James starts a chat with both Vince and Nick where like he's like acknowledging that like there's 2 sides, there's basically 4 people on each side, and like Vince is the new person in the circle, like we need to get Vince as our number, but like acknowledges that Nick is like the head of the other side and decides to like start the chat with all 3 of them, which I thought was like very interesting. Like,
yeah, he also gave Nick like 3rd place in his ratings.
I don't know.
Which
Yeah,
means
I don't.
He put Nick probably above Daniel, which was like,
yeah, like
okay,
alliance, boo.
A little bit of poor judgment, maybe.
But again, maybe he's saying like, like we gotta make sure that this guy continues to have a target on him, so that the focus is shifted on him over people like us. Like you want to ride the middle for a little bit.
And I mean, also, I guess part of it could have been too was like the funny part, which I kind of felt bad, but I thought it was funny, when they gave James the opportunity to add people into the group chat, and then when Nick finally gets there, not only does James regret bringing in Jackson because no one even suggested Jackson as an option to bring in, but once Nick starts typing, the circle chat closes. So I wonder if anything part of that also had to do is like, Vince is new. He didn't really get to talk to Nick. So that might have been also part of his reasoning, maybe, in terms of why he went in a group chat with them. I do think it's like a weird combo of people, but that would be maybe my guess. Basically.
Which, like, I would like to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like sometimes, like, they do a poor job of, like, giving us their version of a confessional where I'm understanding why they're choosing to talk to people or, like, what they're... Because we got a lot from James saying, like, acknowledging, like I said, that there are 2 sides and that Vince is kind of pivotal and we need to like get a sense of like who Vince is feeling in the circle and which way he might go. So you bring him in with the other person that might be vying for him and give him an opportunity to talk with him at the same point. So it's like I just didn't feel like it matched up with like what he was talking about if he was truly just trying to like connect with both of them.
Do you think that there's a chance that it's like gaming the system of being like, if I bring in both Vince and Nick, maybe if Nick tries to start a chat with Vince later, he won't be allowed. Maybe
I
production
mean,
would say
what are
no.
the rules? We don't know. I would love to know if there were a limit. I would love to hear them talk about, like, I need to be strategic about, like, this conversation because I only get, like, 3 of them today and I really need to talk to this person. Like, you can break down that fourth wall. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to know.
Do you have any
and
insight, Taran?
I mean, it's, I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of weird to think about, though. In a lot of these social strategy games, we usually see these sorts of, these DRs confessionals, but it's really just what their thoughts that they're speaking out loud is kind of what we're relying on. But then it's like we're also missing some aspects because it's just what they're thinking in the moment, but we don't necessarily know specifically, what is the whole method behind what they're doing. I mean, sometimes we see things where like Kay's like, I have my strategy, like the 4 C's and, that sort of thing, and like naming those that sort of stuff and saying, this is the strategy I'm going to take in this conversation. But I still feel like there are parts of the games that we are missing, which I kind of wish that we did have.
Yeah, the tricky part is, again, based on the history of watching, at least especially recently, like there's just so much that we don't know and that we can't know. And in some of the previous seasons, some of the contestants have been very vocal about the actual experience versus the perceived experience on the show. I haven't, maybe Nick is out there, talking about what actually happened. I don't know, but I don't know that I've seen a lot of people, with the real tea this season.
Can you ask Nick on Twitter about how it really all works?
Yeah, maybe we could get him to make a video. I don't know, or maybe he could start a podcast and talk about it. I'm not sure.
Take it back.
Just put his name out there. He'll find it.
Oh my God. If you look in the mirror and say Nick 3 times, he'll appear and tell you what really happened.
Yeah.
I think we haven't really touched enough on Matthew/Ashley. I feel like we should talk about that situation.
Okay.
He needs to stop with the daddy Nick.
Yes,
it's upsetting me
thank
on
you.
a deep level.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. I can't. Like, I can't get behind this guy because of this. It makes my skin crawl. It hurts me deeply.
It's so gross because it also seems like he's saying it earnestly. Like he's like, oh, thank God.
I think he is.
Daddy Nick is here. Stop it.
He's never called him Nick.
Ashley, love yourself more, please.
Like, if he were to put him in his phone, the first name would be Daddy and the second name would be Nick. Like,
and then it would be tongue emoji.
Oh, definitely. And like
purple
the
devil.
Yeah, like the squirt emoji, probably.
Ew.
Squirt emoji.
Not the squirt emoji.
Squirt emoji.
Something's emerging. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
Take it back. Never
Good night,
mind.
everybody.
I don't want to
Thank you
talk
for
about
watching.
Ashley anymore.
Rob, why do you invite me on podcasts? I'm just saying, he does not know how to just say Nick, and it's upsetting.
I would like to spearhead a campaign that we just stop calling anyone daddy in public. Even your own father.
Yeah. Well, honestly, especially your own father.
Yeah,
That's
you're right.
fine.
Yeah. If you're over the age of 10.
I was going to
Cut
say
that out.
7 was like the limit for a
I don't know.
child.
I just went for a round number. I don't know.
Okay.
Live your life, but just like, I don't need to see it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I did wonder, I was like, what does Nick think about this? Like, is he flattered by it? Is he uncomfortable?
I don't think
by
he
it?
calls it. I don't think
Nick-
he calls him to his face, right?
Yeah,
No,
no,
I
he
mean,
just
but he's
says it.
watching it back now.
Ash,
There's another
he
Twitter
loves
question.
it.
Yeah.
He loves
Yeah,
it.
he loves
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah,
you
he
can
loves
check
it.
on
Name
Twitter.
on Twitter to
I-
Daddy Nick with the
Ew.
tongue emoji.
Take it
And,
It's
Right.
the thing, like, yeah, Nick is out here being like, oh, this is like very obviously the profile of a lesbian woman. Let me flirt with her. And then Matthew slash Ashley's like, okay, well, I guess we're bi now. So welcome to the circle.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of the challenges and the activities of the week. It was a wild week. We started off with Lil Yachty got involved. What do you think the pitch was to Lil Yachty to be a part of the circle?
a check.
Do you want to be on Netflix? Here is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do you think that Circle has like a big budget for like paying Lil Yachty, or do you think that like Lil Yachty's people were like, "Hey, this is Netflix, baby"?
How much money is a lot of money to Lil Yachty is the question.
I think he's doing well.
I need. Is Lil Yachty like a big name here? Like,
Okay, so
is he a Lance Bass situation?
definitely not a Lance Bass.
No.
So I had a conversation earlier with Phil, who is like my personal
Yachty.
correspondent of all things
Or Daddy
rap.
Phil, as he requested to be named in the chat. Yeah.
Let's ignore that.
Philip, no.
I was trying to pretend that didn't happen, Rob. I can't believe you'd bring this up. But I know who Lil Yachty is, but I don't know any of his music. I asked Phil to put on a song that he was on so that I could refamiliarize myself. He was like a SoundCloud rapper that like rose to prominence in like 2016-ish. But like I wouldn't consider him like a huge name. Like he's definitely not even top 5 Lils, you know? Like definitely after Woody Morris.
The one thing he does have going for him, he does have 10.3 million Instagram followers. So that is something.
I think
So
he's
he has an
very
Instagram.
popular.
No,
But
but I know
don't
he's
think
not the most well
good.
known Littles. That
Yeah,
I'm
he's
aware of,
definitely
I
like
guess.
I said, not top 5 Lils.
Who? Okay, hold on. Who are the top 5 Lils?
Okay,
Oh, wow.
Because
we're
now I
going-
need to know.
Okay, we're going Lil Wayne.
Lil
We're
Wayne.
going Lil Jon.
We're
going
I'm
Yeah.
already lost.
Lil Baby.
Definitely
Okay.
still lost.
Lil Morris.
What about Bow Wow? Does Bow
Yeah,
Wow
what
count?
about
he graduated because he does not go by Lil Bow Wow anymore. But honestly, I would probably still
But
go
he's
Lil
known-
Bow Wow
I feel
in
like he's
his
known for
heyday
that.
over Lil Yachty.
Mhm.
Then there's like Lil Uzi Vert. There's like Lil I don't
Bro,
know,
Lil
like,
Nas X.
Lil Nas X. But
There you go.
yeah, I wasn't even thinking of Lil Nas X. Basically any Lil.
Mhm.
over Lil Yachty. And I asked Phil his opinion because I trust his opinion. And I said, does he have a good flow? Because he, shots were fired. He did call Calvin out on his flow, which was absolutely terrible. But Phil says Lil Yachty doesn't even have great flow. So
Oh, come on. Phil.
I mean,
I mean,
I
we're
don't know.
we're all not Daddy Phil, but come on.
I'm not gonna lie. Like some of the contestants, and I don't know how to flow well either. And I don't know how difficult it would be to read somebody else's poorly written flow and try to make it flow. But some of these contestants were able to read their own flow a bit better than Lil Yachty was able to read
but
their
I
own.
Lil Yachty might have been checked out of
Yeah.
reading the flow from
But
the
listen, that might not be a flow issue. It might be a reading out loud issue. And I don't think we need to, belittle him about this.
Yeah.
Why
by the way, but let me just say from the chat also before people says our timelines are just filled with all the Lils that we miss. Lil Kim,
oh yeah.
thank you,
Lil Kim.
Daddy Taran in the
Yes,
chat.
of course, Lil Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing: is like Lil Yachty does not care who any of these people are. Like, could they have
Nor
not
should he.
recorded them saying? Like their like identity can be revealed to Lil Yachty. Why couldn't they do a recording of them performing their rap? So at least that he understood the flow of it so that he could deliver it properly. I feel like he did not do anyone justice.
Could they have done masked Renapper style? Had everyone record their own
Morph the
raps and then
voices.
modulated the voices so that it could just be played for everyone in the circle and still have Lil Yachty as the judge.
That'd be
Mhm.
fun.
I think they should, but I think they would still be
Shut up,
worried.
Tim.
Yeah.
I think maybe they still would have been worried though. I think with the possibility of like with the whole makeup challenge last year, I think maybe they were like, oh well, we don't. And I guess they wanted like to bring the raps to life because they've had some of these sorts of like poetry rap-esque types of competitions, but it's just like you're reading them and you're not. But I wish he did like maybe a practice round or something.
Did they come to life? Did they?
Yeah.
I don't know if they came to life.
Here's my issue.
Well, not really, but that's
in
what
this-
I think that was the point.
In the Circle Celebrity UK, they did a rap battle challenge as well. And in that season, they had them write their own raps, and then they performed their own raps, and everybody else read the text. And so I'm sure they were like, let's get an actual rapper. This will be even better. But it wasn't. It would have been better, I think, to just have them read it out themselves.
I would have loved to hear
more entertaining. And then
everyone's
Lil Yachty,
interpretations.
yeah, and then Lil Yachty just judges their performance.
The rhymes, the bars, yeah.
The way he read these raps, it reminded me. I went to high school with a boy who like hated having to read out loud in English class, so he would always like pretend he couldn't really read it, so that they would give him shorter paragraphs, so it could move to the next person. Like when you're all like reading like 5 lines of To Kill a Mockingbird, he would just purposefully read it really badly. That's how it felt.
I think it's fair to say Lil Yachty's heart might not have been in this. I think he might have been thinking, but what my friends are all going to make fun of me for this. There's going to be people on stupid podcasts talking about how I'm on the circle. Like, why did I say yes to this? How fast can we speed this along?
For season 4 of the Circle, will Brittany from Big Brother 23 perform the raps?
Oh, she would be.
You'd love that. That is, she would have done them justice.
She'd bring the enthusiasm.
She would have been so enthusiastic.
Oh, okay, cool.
That is exactly what she would say. I would have enjoyed that so much more because she would have had all of the vigor and the like enthusiasm that we needed, because Lil Yachty was phoning it in.
Hold on, Taran. What would Brittany have said if somebody had a subpar rap?
No, I'm not okay with that.
The energy.
So true. So true. Yeah. Any standouts from the raps from the Circle contestants? Good or bad?
What was it? All loan you money to bleed. The one about loaning.
That
was pretty good.
That was good. That was very good.
Yeah. That was great.
Like I said, like I think that Calvin probably could have delivered his, because in his head he had the breakdown of like how the lines were supposed to flow, and Lil Yachty like was just reading it and was like, I don't understand how this is supposed to work. So that one like was just absolutely terrible. Yeah, I don't know. It was annoying because like, and you know, Lil Yachty literally told them like, no friendships. This is war.
Track.
Don't choke. And everyone's like, you're a great guy. Sometimes I will make you a cake or a pie. Like, it's like, come on, man. Like,
I mean, that's the problem
for dinner.
Yeah, well, that's the problem though, is that there is no incentive to actually fall for it. Like, it's essentially just like, who's dumb enough to fall for this? Like, who's gonna make a big statement out of their thing and make a target of themselves?
Which is like, why not do it?
You didn't do that mistake.
So what you're saying is there should be
anonymous
consequences for being nice. If you're too nice in your rap battle, your average rating goes down. Deal with it.
No, yeah, I mean the person, the whole assassin twist, the whole reason that they had to be an assassin was because they came in last place in a regular game. There should be more punishments like that, I think, to encourage people to try harder in these kinds of things.
No one cares. Like the parties have no impact on the actual game. And like you guys are saying, there's no real consequences to just doing poorly because you played it safe. So it's like, have some sort of like, you know, the rap ranking has like some sort of like, you know, numerical impact on like the actual ranking. So it's like if you get like a little bump or something, like I don't know what the math of it could be, but like give some sort of strategic incentive to do this, because otherwise you're just having fun with it, and like that is not interesting to me.
Yeah, imagine giving a burner account to somebody who wins the rap battle or the cake challenge or whatever, you know.
Better than just Calvin giving it away for no freaking reason.
Did we have an activity in episode 6, or was James arriving the activity?
That's it. Yeah, I don't think that there was any activity.
Okay.
I-
Yes.
Can I say, I feel like we never got any resolution to Ashley and Isabella block Calvin. They never had a conversation with Nick about it.
Mhm.
Didn't they
Nick
have
was
like a
"It's
combo in the band? And he's like, yeah, Calvin was a cool dude, but like I'm so glad to be here. I don't know, like just the same.
I
crap.
just feel like they must have had some kind of like, this is the explanation for why we chose Nick over or Calvin over Kay. But we got nothing.
Mhm.
Again, I would love more of the like conversations and less of the meaningless activities.
Yeah.
But
All right. Well, speaking of meaningless activities, who's ready to hear some ghost stories?
ugh.
Flicker the lights.
That was
I
great.
loved it. I loved this.
He
I
did a
loved
good
that they
job.
shared them. Yeah.
He honestly, Nick impressed me because when it started, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to look away because I'm gonna get secondhand embarrassment. But he actually did a pretty good job with his story.
Mhm.
I would like to say that when he's starting his story, going on about all of the specific equipment he had, that was not good. I don't think that's like, I don't know.
These
maybe
people
I just
don't know better.
Yeah, maybe I just know more about ghosts than like the
I
average
mean-
person. But it seems
Kirsten,
like he
what
was getting way too
equipment-
specific.
What equipment would you bring?
I'm just bringing a Ouija board, baby. Like
You
that's
You
that's
don't
the
have the
basics.
you don't have the
Ghost hunters-
modulator that gets you from like down to a human level as opposed
No,
to
I
like
don't
a
need a
supernatural.
I don't need
Those
it. Give me a
hunters
Ouija
love-
board.
They love to talk about all of their equipment because it makes them sound more legitimate. That like, oh, I've got this stereo electrical equalizer.
Yeah.
I've got this
So true.
fancy. Yeah, I mean, I found it very believable.
I
Yeah,
learned how
I
to
thought it
use this
sounded so
equipment,
fake.
the state of the art equipment at my ghost hunter school.
Mhm.
The 4-year
uh,
program.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? The professional audio recording equipment?
Yeah, high end.
High-end audio recording microphone.
That's
Captures
what we really got.
decibels.
Like it captures decibels that are outside of the normal human range of
Yeah.
hearing. And once I pitch shifted it down, like
Just imagine
anybody who knows
Vince-
anything about audio would be like, okay,
What?
he's a ghost hunter. That's the great thing, is that he still just looks like a charlatan.
and Nick, the drummer, apparently has like lucky the one person that has anything to do with like music is Nick. So like there you go.
Well, and Nick, I don't believe he's ever actually played any instrument.
No, isn't the drummer a fake
The
thing?
drummer's
not actually a
fake
drummer.
because
Yeah.
he wants to seem cool. And I did like how in literally the first moment of the show, Chanel immediately clocked that he obviously could not be a drummer in like a
He's not
band
punk
because he has
fan.
no
He's not a
tattoos.
punk rock drummer.
Yeah,
Like-
well, Ava also said, I listened to Linkin Park. He's my favorite
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was very much like Taran Wikipedia-ing Pitbull, energy when Ava was like, yeah, Linkin Park is
Yeah,
great.
Sir Linkin Park. Yeah,
I love him.
He's not punk. I know punk. Punk is that Linkin Park artist. He's great. Not punk.
Yeah.
Not a
Yeah,
singular he.
not a singular, not
by the way-
punk.
Yeah, speaking of Pitbull, Kay said that Nick wishes he had a Pitbull in her diss track of Nick,
exactly.
And she
Mr.
was right.
Worldwide.
I actually saw. Did you know that Pitbull has like an honorary doctorate from a university? So you can call him actually Dr. Worldwide.
Dr. Worldwide.
Sure.
Mhm.
I learned that
The
on
doctor
TikTok
beyond me.
today.
Yeah.
Okay, I was
Dr.
also
Worldwide
on
is my father.
I was also on
Call me
Pitbull
Pitbull.
talk today, which is very some
Yeah,
weird.
well, I
synergy
wouldn't
going on.
say
Yeah,
I
what-
was on
Yeah.
Pitbull TikTok.
Well, I
I
got-
would say it was a woman being like, you know what I used to say to really piss off my ex-boyfriend? I used to call him Dr. Worldwide. But let me tell you why that's a legitimate thing to say.
Yeah. Jenny,
Mine
which
was
TikTok
just-
were you on today?
Well, it was like this woman that was like, who is this person, and points to like, you know, like it's green screen. It's like, who is this person? This is a famous person. You know who this is. And I was like, I have no idea who this is. And then another picture, it was like, who is this person? This is like definitely a celebrity. And it was Pitbull. And my brain was broken because I've seen Pitbull, but he looked totally different in these photos.
See, what broke my brain today was to find out that Rob is also on Berries and Cream TikTok.
Berries and cream.
Also on Berries and Cream
Yeah.
TikTok. Guys, I've been wasting so much time. I need an intervention.
Yeah, I know. It's fine. I'm just waiting for Rob to do the TikTok where he turns on the Survivor 41 premiere and he goes, good soup.
Okay. All right. Well, sneak preview. All right. The punchline to Nick's story, ultimately, Geneva, that he felt somebody grab him by the neck. Do you think that he was channeling Kirsten maybe in that moment?
Whoa.
Pardon?
I don't know. Maybe, but I probably would. I would necessarily think so, but you know, I think it was quite a story. People seem to be, you know, I guess intense, enjoying the experience, and then also of course freaking out. I kind of did like that production, like flickered the lights and did all this stuff to just kind of
The knock on the door.
Yes, the knock on the door to make it more animated and more fun. So I did kind of enjoy the experience, and it kind of really just also allowed Nick to become really creative with the role. Which of course, you know, I think if they're going to give him a catfish, we want to see like how much or how well he can execute this, you know, ghost hunter role.
I feel I need to say for the record that just because I don't like someone on reality TV doesn't mean I want to assault them. I don't want to choke Nick.
Thank you. Well, thank you for clearing that up.
I just feel like I need to say on the record.
Insinuation.
I know inquiring minds were wondering.
I loved how like numerous times like Nick is like, I feel like people like Vince more than they like me, and I'm like, sweetie, let's delve into this thought a little bit more.
I loved Nick getting jealous of his own alter ego.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well then what does that tell you?
Maybe you should have come in like as something completely different from yourself. You would have maybe had more fun, and you know, it might have been a, you know, quite a different experience.
Been a ghost hunter.
Yeah, Nick, maybe if you had a better personality, people would like you more. I don't know.
Oh. Or maybe this is all just so fake, and like they just love this fake person that you're putting on, and like that's working better than you being yourself.
Let's talk about one other challenge from this week. Let's bring in the cake challenge. Taran, you talked quite a bit about cake in Circle Season 2.
I'm basically a cake expert now.
Yeah.
I know all about cake, seen lots of cakes being made.
Describe them.
Pictures of cake. Yeah.
Top 5 cakes, Taran. Let's go.
All right. So
I gotta go.
Here's how the cake works.
Nick took a photo of his 2 cakes.
Yeah, exactly. When you go to the gym and you do some squats, you know, you're developing your cake.
Yeah.
It's very simple, really. This was ridiculous. I could not believe how obvious these two alliances. I mean, the reason this got split into a 4v4 is that everybody just exposed their allegiances in the game. I have to imagine that production had something to do with this, because why in the world are you going to genuinely just give away who you are most? Every single cake was like, oh, I didn't realize they were so close. Like, why did you do that?
Why do you think production wanted that?
You know, everybody likes cake, and it maybe sometimes when you see cake, you lose rational thought, and you just want to start sending shirtless photos. But like, come on.
Does anybody want cake?
Yes.
Also, did you all notice that Kay was a catfish just because she can't make a beautiful cake? Apparently.
Well, and I also feel like though Kay's cake wasn't like the traditional cake decoration technique you would use, I didn't really think it like looked bad. I just thought it
I
was
didn't
like
think
an
so.
interesting use of the waffle cones.
Yeah,
Like
she
I
went
would even
three-dimensional.
if I saw that at an event, I'd be like, okay, I guess that's just like new cake decorating technique dropped. I don't know what fancy people do. Like you watch cake. Like I get heavy into watching like cookie and cake decorating videos on Facebook. I just get sucked into the vortex, and then it's video after video after video of people like icing cookies and like decorating cakes, and people
How did I
make
know
these
this
cakes.
about you?
Well,
Yeah.
it's that, and it's Brad
Kirsten
Bosco
really likes
reacting to hair
Oh, I
transformation.
love those.
But with a lot of these cake decorating videos, someone will make a cake and they do like the crumb coat of frosting, and then they cut a chunk out of the cake and will like fill it with candy or stuff to make it look like, oh, this cake has like a geode coming out of it with all these pop rocks. And so like people do this weird stuff all the time. So
Yeah.
when I saw Kay's cake, I was like, well, it's not the best, but like I could see that being a concept that someone's using. Like it just wasn't executed professionally.
Kirsten,
But I was
I saw a video on TikTok yesterday where Jason Derulo called up and said, "Hey, can I get a cake that's a life-size cake?" And a woman made a Jason Derulo life-size cake.
What?
Of
Haven't you
himself?
ever seen Cake Boss? Like they make that shit all the time.
I just Googled weird candy cake, and it still all looks way better than Kay's cake.
Well, I didn't say she had a
professionals.
professional level, but like I didn't like. It would be fine. You know what? Is he
All
making
the
a cake
cakes
for
were
me?
bad. They
This
were
is the
all
thing,
bad.
though. I think I was just kind of like,
Yes, Geneva.
Kay never said she was a baker or like a
Yeah.
cake decorator. So why does this lead Isabella to thinking she's a catfish because she can't design a cake?
Because
Not
Isabella
one
is looking
person
for
knew
a
how to frost a
reason,
cake.
and also those bitter ass sisters threw Kay under the bus for what reason? I have no idea.
They're jealous because they got
They
blocked twice.
successfully
Twice.
got blocked by her twice.
They're so
it's like-
bad at the game.
But
that they
also
get
it's
blocked
like,
twice.
what do you gain from like this person isn't a catfish? First of all, you've met them, and you're going to insinuate that they are a catfish in a game that you already had a second chance in. The chance is gone,
Mhm.
and they like if you're trying to like level the playing field by like maybe making them a threat. Like I'm sorry, being influencer twice in a row does enough. You don't need to like insinuate that they are a catfish.
Weren't they trying to throw shade on Daniel? Because Daniel two-timed them, and they were like, not everyone is who they say they were, meaning Daniel, who was like
But
saying that he
that
was my friend.
If that
Yeah,
was
I
even
think
what they
so,
were doing was
but-
not successful.
But
Yeah.
then because Kay was like, oh, I blocked them in person, I'm the one who saw them, people were like, oh, so they must be talking about
Yeah.
Kay. And the same thing kind of happened also. Like Calvin kind of did the same thing to Kay in his goodbye of
Exactly.
being like,
Yeah.
I think there's some catfishes out there. And then it's like, well, but he said goodbye to Kay. So,
Everyone
like,
thinks that. Everyone
Stop
thinks
it.
there are catfishes out there. Like, what is the point
we
of saying
know
that?
that's
And
the
it's
show.
not-
It's
not
just like they just
helpful
want to have
because-
that like moment when they're leaving and they're like, there's some catfish. Like,
Mhm.
look
Yeah.
out. It's like,
Yeah,
you
well,
don't
it's-
even- you don't know who they are.
Just
I
saying
would-
like, hey, I think they're a catfish in the game.
I would pay money for on a future season of The Circle when someone gets eliminated. It's like alert newsfeed. You have a message, and then the person just goes, Miss Vanjie, Miss Vanjie. I want to bring back 2018. Okay.
I do
Mhm.
too, to be honest.
But yeah, it didn't really help her because she's basically at the beginning of the game, like people would just go to her, like, or she would go to them. And so like she was probably the only person that people knew about. So it's like, oh, so then she's the catfish. So that's what I think was kind of annoying. Like I get people like to leave codes in there, but it's like they're not even fully accurate. So and it just it kind of led to all the drama that we've seen in these last few episodes.
All right. Let's start to look ahead to where this is all going. Taran, we have one more week of Circle proper episodes, and then the finale gets released a week from Wednesday. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we would assume that is anybody else coming into the Circle?
Probably at least one more person.
Oh, one more person. All right.
I would assume so.
Do we think that
I mean-
like anyone is gonna get a second? We'll get another second chance.
Yeah, could
because
we do the thing where whatever two people go out here, could they come in as a new person, a la John from last season?
Mhm.
very possible. A double blocking here means that with Vince also leaving at some point, I'm sure that only leaves 6 players left in the game. I think they're going to want at least like 7 so that they can block 2 before the finale. So I think whether it's like Jackson and Roxanna together as a duo, or it's just one more new person, I think we'll probably see at least one more.
Okay. Jenny, do you have a strong feeling on a winner pick?
Oh boy. I really, I don't want to say it, but like maybe Nick. I don't know.
Take it back.
I truly I feel like it's too soon to say. Because I really would want to see who's getting blocked here. I think that James, if he had come in earlier, like could be really, really good and is someone that I could see potentially winning. There's just too many people who are like, I don't see where they fit in after this. Actually, who's someone who might actually have winner potential is Ashley. She's very generic.
Yeah.
Middle of the road kind of.
I feel like Daniel.
See, but like, okay, so if Roxanna goes here, like, does Daniel get properly picked up by people? Like,
I don't
that's
think
what everyone's kind of waiting to do,
right?
Yeah.
Like, all he needs to do is survive probably 2 more blockings after this, which it wouldn't be that hard, and then he's in the finals. And especially if there are lots of strategic people left in the game, he seems like a very easy person to throw some first places on.
Just kind of falls into
was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, because the moment like more than like 2 people are trying to be strategic with their votes, it kind of becomes more random all over again. So I think between Kay and Roxanna, one of them is gonna go in these first 2, and then I think whichever one is left might have a shot to win.
Geneva, do you feel like it's Daniel, or do you have a different pick?
So I wouldn't necessarily say it's Daniel, but I think that could be a possibility. I think that it might be. It's hard to say for me right now because I feel like if we do have players at the end like Isabel and Ashley, we might see that strategy where people are gonna put rankings into account. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if Nick would necessarily win, because even though he has the popularity right now and the connections, I think people might choose to rank him a bit lower in order to further their game and in order to get themselves higher in the rankings. And similarly with Kay, like I feel like one of them could win, but I just feel like people might like try to lower them. So it might be one of those people who are kind of like an Ashley, or I don't know if I'm not sure if Isabel is gonna survive, depending on how things go. But I still think that like Ashley could be a contender. I think James could be a contender, mostly because a lot of people did seem to like him when he came in. A lot of people wanted to get him on their side, and he seemed to be personable. So I think he will end up strategically being higher in the rankings than others.
I guess I would say. I feel like it's almost too obvious, but maybe it ends up being like the only viable person is that I'll say Kay. I feel like that the whole season has been Kay's story. I feel like that her and Nick are the 2 people that have had the most airtime, but I feel like that the Nick thing could make sense because he had to do the whole thing with Vince ultimately. And if Kay survives this blocking, like I kind of feel like that she's the biggest character and like been the star of the show so far. So based on, and this is like more of just like, she seems to be positioned well and the edit is so big. So I'll say Kay going into the finale.
Because I could see if Kay's side of things gets kind of taken out, but she manages to stay, then people might be like, oh, well, no one's going to rate her first. Like I can like try to be strategic and then like it all blows up in their face. Like I could see that happening.
All right. So anything else Circle week 2?
I would like to say we didn't give Michelle. She finally got to have her goodbye and say, you all know that you're wrong. And I just, she's an icon in reality TV to me, and I just want to give her that moment right now.
Justice for Michelle.
Justice
She
for
was
Michelle.
real
robbed.
Michelle.
I really wish they had let
She
Michelle
was real
move
to me.
in with Ava and Chanel, and they all could have been Michelle together. I think
What
that
did
would have
Michelle do wrong to have to be with Ava and Chanel in a room?
You don't want to see her in a leopard print sweater and they're all being Michelle
With
together? It would
dollar
be gold.
bill chokers.
But I'm
Beautiful.
disappointed because I feel like there were some clearly obvious details, even with that one challenge. And they're like, oh no, it has to be the other Michelle because she talks about her family all the time. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, she literally pointed out her shirt. Like, I don't understand, the other one. It's just like, I feel like the details were clear, but they chose not to. It would be one thing if it was just more of like, oh, I strategically think that I have a closer relationship with this Michelle, but it didn't even seem like that. It just seemed like they just were like, okay, this is who I guess sounds real, but obviously they didn't know who was real.
Hilarious. Just so funny.
Yeah. Are any of you interested in some price points for Circle season 3 cameos?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let us
Yeah.
Hell
know.
yeah.
I will say the Circle season 3 cast, they are priced to move on Cameo.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. All right.
The fire sale.
Yes. Okay. All right. How about a cameo from Rachel, aka Jackson?
You guys
That's
didn't even
more
know her
than
name.
$4.99. I'm leaving.
Get out.
I'm gonna say $12.
$12.
Very low to me.
20? I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't
It
been on Cameo in a while. Is that
Yeah.
like super low?
What? Who wants a message from her? They don't
$20.
even know who she
20
is.
Okay.
They don't
okay.
want to
I'm
make
sorry.
her on the Circle. Yeah.
12.
got it.
There's not a huge difference between 12 and 20 for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if she had more of an edit, I could justify more.
Yeah, they're pretty
but-
much all $20. Just about everybody from the cast. Although a
Who's
couple
got
of
the most
notable-
expensive?
Yeah. So the most expensive is a man who stopped by the chat earlier. James is the most expensive, $50.
Because you know
What's
you're
that
going to
coin?
get something good.
And-
like that is justifiable to me.
Okay, but who's the
Agreed.
second most expensive at $40?
Nick.
Mm,
Ooh,
It could be Sophia.
Okay.
Roxana.
this is a great power move. Original Michelle.
Yes!
I love that.
Oh my god,
Yes.
yes! Icon. Okay, if someone bought me a cameo from Original Michelle, I'd be really excited. Like, I would legitimately be really excited if someone. Please tell her I'm her biggest fan.
Yeah.
I love it.
And this is
Kristen-
wild here that so Ava and Chanel are $20, but just Ava is $10.
So
So you get
So
the
it's
duo or
$10
just Ava.
There you go.
and no Chanel on her own.
Well, yeah, how
No
much
Chanel.
is Chanel only? I'd much rather have Chanel only than Ava only.
No solo
Like when
Chanel.
Ava walked in the door, I literally was like, "Oh, this is a Lana from season 1." I was like, "Oh, this is like the same person, like fits the same mold."
I don't
And then
even know who you're talking
the
Yeah.
about.
first
and I
boot,
watched
she
that
walked
season.
in and then got voted out instantly because all she brought to the table was being hot. And I was like, "Oh, it's the same person."
Yeah.
And then her sister came in. I was like, "Ooh, with a little spice."
Yes,
It's
and
so
tell me, is this good strategic gameplay from Kay? I told you just about everybody's $20. Kay is $19.
Ah,
Ooh,
that looks different.
undercutting the
the competition.
competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
That is queen shit.
All right. So let's tell you what else is coming up here on Rob as a podcast. And so we have some Survivor 41 drafting coming up on Sunday night. That's going to be live at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want to join us for that one, then we also will have coming up on the podcast so much stuff. Bryce Isaiah. Had so much fun on I don't remember what day we recorded this. Thursday, I think. We went through It's a Look, all of the Survivor 41 cast photos. Bryce and I 2+ hours, got a lot of nice compliments about it in the podcast or on the Twitter, which they're not always super friendly on Twitter. Got some nice comments there with Bryce. Definitely check that one out as well. this Wednesday night. We'll be back. Survivor Know-It-Alls. Steven Fishback. We found him. He's alive. He's ready to go. Check it out live after the 2-hour Survivor premiere coming up on Wednesday. We also closed out the Survivor all-time rankings this week with Shannon Gus and Chappelle. You could see all top 40 seasons of Survivor that we did all year round in 2021 at robinsonwebsite.com/rankings, including also check out why Sandra won again. David Bloomberg and Jessica Lewis are back to tell us, did Sandra follow all those rules? Find out on why Sandra won again. And I had a great conversation with Sandra the other day. This was really fun. T-Bird found the 2-time Survivor champ, Sandra Diaz-Twine. We had a great conversation with her about all of her seasons on the latest Talking with T-Bird. If you missed that one, definitely check that out. Monday, I'll be back on the slop. Mike Bloom will join me at 5 p.m. Eastern to talk about everything sloppy in the world of Big Brother, including Julie had another wild interview from Entertainment Weekly that we'll get into, I'm sure, on Monday. Taran, live feed update. What is this for Sunday?
There you go. We've got some things to update. Veto competition results. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, check it out live 11 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. Of course, then we have so much going on in our patron podcast feed, including yesterday, Taran and I did the BB Q&A. We had the patron 5 for 5 go up on Friday. We did the all-time best Survivor season feedback show with Kelly White and Touchdown Tommy. Chantel Francis and I talked about the Survivor Q&A on this past Wednesday. So jam-packed patron podcast feed, and all Survivor season long, we'll be doing a Survivor Q&A weekly with the patrons of Rob's podcast at robinsonwebsite.com/patron. Check out everything from our sponsors when you go to robinsonwebsite.com/offers, and be sure to follow us on YouTube when you hit the subscribe button, or listen to Rob's podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And then, of course, follow us on the social media, where you could follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok, where there's so many great videos, including some from Rob Has a Podcast at Rob Has a Podcast on TikTok. All right. Great job there, Scott. Jenny, what's coming up for you?
Not a whole lot. It's a very busy time in my personal/professional life with I'm an academic advisor at a university, so like back to school time is very busy. So doing that, and then when I have time, hopping in on podcasts like this, which is a nice change of pace. And I will be on Twitch tomorrow playing Among Us with the crew. So you can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Jenny Autumn. I'm on social media everywhere else at Jenny Autumn. And I think I'll be popping in for a little bit more Big Brother 23 before we put it to permanent bed. Well, not permanent bed. That sounds very ominous. But
I mean, BB23, we're going to put it to bed.
BB23 permanent bed, not BB as a whole. So so that'll be good.
Yeah, we still have Celebrity Big Brother in a couple of months.
Yeah, I know. I keep forgetting about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe Lance Bass will play.
That's what I'm saying. Little Yachty. Get him on.
Little Yachty.
I love how Taran says little Yachty.
I love it. I will say, we've shaded Sophia a little bit. We forgot to mention, I did enjoy Sophia referring to Lil Yachty as Mr. Yachty, as if like Yachty is his last name.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Mr. Yachty is his father, actually.
Yes. Not Dr. Yachty yet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Geneva, what's coming up for you?
Not so much right now, but you can follow me at Peace Love Jen on social media, where I tweet about all the reality TV that I am watching or other things in life. And you can always catch me over at Silent Podcasts. We're on Apple and Spotify, and we have some, Rob Has a Podcast people over there covering Never Have I Ever and the Black Widow Brigade, which also involve RHAP people. So yeah, just follow us on all the socials for Silent Podcasts, and that's how you can keep up with me.
Okay. Great job today, Geneva. What was better, this or the karaoke?
I think both were equal. Like the reason I'd say is like
the thing.
no, No, oh no,
Yeah,
oh
take a
no.
stand.
No, I mean, for me, my two favorite things to do in the world are sing and podcast right now,
Oh.
aside of, the academics and, grad school life. So that's why it was,
Yeah.
they were both good in two different ways.
Okay. All right. Well, Geneva, great to have you here. And yeah, please keep us posted with if you get any more scoop from Nick on Twitter.
Sounds good.
Yes. All right. Kirsten, what's up next for you?
Yes, so you can follow me everywhere, Kirsten Said What, including twitch.tv/Kirsten Said What. We're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of my stream. So got some
How will you
big
celebrate?
stuff. Well, we're planning a subathon. We're gonna maybe bring back hide and seek Among Us. Like it's gonna be a whole situation. So I'm in the planning stages of that, so people could stay tuned there. Riverdale is also still on. So Mary and I are covering that over on Kowski Cast. That's Cow with a K. This week she was too busy running a marathon to podcast with me, so we both just recorded a solo podcast, and she's gonna edit them together. And I don't know how she's gonna do it. So that could be fun.
Is it going to be both sides of a conversation?
I don't see. The thing is like in theory, you'd think it would just be 2 podcasts. Here's Mary's part. Here's Kirsten's part. But Mary is unhinged, and I am genuinely concerned that she might try to turn it into a conversation that it was not. So you never know what that crazy kid's going to do. So. I guess
is she procrastinating a move?
Yeah.
Well, she's gonna be on a flight, so she'll have lots of time to edit.
Oh my goodness.
I'm concerned. I'm afraid and I'm worried. So pray for me there. But also you can listen to my weekly BoJack Horseman rewatch podcast with Lindsay Wilson, BoJack Horse Pod. The season 3 finale will be coming out this week. So big episode.
All right. Great job tonight, Kirsten. And then Taran, what's coming up for you?
Just find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. Also be playing some Among Us tomorrow. Plenty of Big Brother coverage. We're going to be drafting some survivors tomorrow night. That'll be fun. Yeah, we'll be here for the end of Big Brother 23. So some fun stuff.
Taran, have you considered decorating any cakes in the Big Brother off season on Twitch?
Rob, I'm always decorating cakes.
Oh, do you have the spray glitter?
It's a little too racy for Twitch, unfortunately.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, no.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh my.
Okay.
I'm in crisis. Wrap it up.
Okay. Taran is branching out. All right.
That's what we're calling it.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Thank you all for joining us on another Circle recap next weekend. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.